The reading this morning is from Being of Power by Baron Baptiste. Who are you? You know who you are, right? But think about it for a moment. Do you really? Consider that you don't know everything that's available for you to know about who you are. Whether you're conscious of it or not, you most likely cling to your sense of who you are. There's a good chance that you identify with the accomplishments and achievements that it has brought you. You're not just a mom, dad, lawyer, student, or whatever. Yes, they may be accurate labels to describe the roles that you play, but they don't answer the question, who are you? These are layers that obscure who we are underneath. When we shed a layer of who we've been pretending to be, we don't know who the new us is yet. Transformation happens in those moments when, rather than turning back to our self-created prisons, we embrace the unknown and ask ourselves, what's available to me from here? At this point in your life, you've probably amassed an immense amount of answers, knowledge, and wisdom. But what you've done in the past, no matter how beneficial, is in the past. You need to let go of that and create a new space for new growth. Thoughts such as, I already did that, I already figured that out, or I already got what I needed from this, don't allow for real depth and mastery. Rather than thinking you've already evolved enough because you've done all this work, you can take the position of, yeah, I've done work to a certain level, but there's always the next transformation that's looking for me and another possibility that wants me. Experience teaches us learning and discovery never end.
Think good thoughts. Perfect for today, because that is exactly how we create our reality. That's how we let go of that illusion of misfortune, of negativity, etc. Is simply by choosing to think differently, choosing to perceive our life differently. I love that reading, Sujat. It really made me think and wonder, how is it that we are going to create that space for that new growth, for that discovery of life? How do we get to that place of real depth, of mastery of our lives? How do we get there? What I know is this: it is certainly not by doing things the way that we're doing them if we don't like the results that are showing up. Right? That doesn't make any sense. Now, in that, there's no room for blaming ourselves or feeling guilty about our life circumstances, our situations, whatever's going on. No room for guilt and blame. Because it is an absolute fact that we are where we are by our very best thinking. Isn't that the truth? We did the best we could to utilize the tools that we had to get exactly where we are. Well, bottom line is this: if we don't like where we are, then it's time to change the way that we're perceiving life. Change the way that, change our choices, change our circumstances, change within. Baptiste in the book reminds us that we cannot create anything new on top of the old stuff that we have going on. It doesn't work that way. So what that means is that we need to clear out our old stuff, everything, all the junk that's in there inside of each and every single one of us. We need to clear that out so as to make room for that new. Make room for that joy and that love of life. It is never about fixing something outside of us. We can't change physical reality. So it isn't about that. Actually, there's nothing to change. There's nothing to fix, and there's nothing to figure out. Changing anything physical is temporary. It's a temporary fix-it, isn't it? And I know that we've probably all tried it at some level or another. Unless we change our way of being, our way of thinking, our way of perceiving from the inside out, we're going to end up with the same circumstances time after time, because we'll be showing up with the same mindset. Just makes sense. Although we don't think of it that way when we go on autopilot. Seeking something outside of ourselves to inspire ourselves, to be re-inspired even, is rarely the answer either. Because nothing out there can fill in here. Not like we want it to, not long term. That shift must come from within. And it has to be real. It has to be true. We can feel absolutely, completely renewed without changing anything at all externally. Because as we lift that veil of illusion, we can become absolutely clear about who we are. Not the roles we play, not the labels that have been assigned to us, either by someone else or by ourselves. Instead, we are called to realize who we truly are, at our core, a child of the divine, with all of the attributes. I heard this story about this young man. Do you love this slide? It says, if you can't read it, it says, what you know, right? That little itty bitty place, and what you think you know. This is a really big space, right? There was this young man who just graduated from Texas A&M, and he was interviewing for an engineering position with a human resources person. So the human resource person was ending the interview and said to this young man, so what kind of salary are you looking for? Do you expect? And he looked at her and he said, well, in the neighborhood of $125,000 a year, depending on the benefits that you have available. So the interview looked at him and said, well, what would you say to a package of 5 weeks vacation, 14 paid holidays, full medical, full dental, a company matching retirement fund, 50% of your salary, and a company car leased every 2 years, let's say a red Corvette? Well, the kid looked up and he went, yeah, are you kidding me? And she said, well, of course I'm kidding you, but you started it. I love the idea of affirming and asking for what you want. That's what we talk about doing all the time, and I absolutely know that works. And this young man will likely get exactly what it is that he intends and what he wants, just not today, right? He can get that because when we stand firmly in whatever new way of being that we're looking to create, we absolutely will see our reality line up with our intentions. However, we need to stay in that space of, I don't know. Because that's what we think we know. And I'll tell you what, that's what we don't know. That's the truth. When we come from that space of, I don't know, we're open. We're ready to learn. We're ready to experience. We're ready to see life in a new way, with a new experience. And we become much more open to our higher guidance. When we do that, that's how we let go of what we don't know, of what we think we know, actually. And that's when life can come in. That's when our higher self, that higher guidance, that divine can take over and say, no, you don't know. Let me show you the unlimited possibilities. Much of the time, what we tend to do as human beings is we base what we do know on past experiences. How else would we know, right? Well, that's knowing that we need to absolutely let go of. Simply because it happened once or even twice doesn't mean it's going to happen that way every single time. Our old beliefs need to shift, and we need to fully let go of them so we can be open to all those new possibilities. Otherwise, we aren't going to make much progress because we'll be held captive by our past conditioning, by those old beliefs. And the goal here, I believe, is to make room inside of ourselves. Open up that space that enables us to rise above the past. Leave it behind. Let it go. Thank it, bless it, and move on. And open up to new opportunities. Goethe said, you don't see life as it is, you see life as you are. Isn't that the truth? Not one person in this room sees life this very same. We can't. We're all looking through our own experiences, through our own filters. We often think of reality in concrete terms. And the way that we see the world becomes the way the world is. According to me. And isn't that the truth for all of us? That's just the way it works. Well, not in all cases. If we filter, this is where we get in trouble. If we filter our life through negative thoughts, that Danielle won't let us do because we're thinking good thoughts, through sadness or through that victim mentality, our world will absolutely turn into just that. We begin to see the world as a negative place all the time, day in and day out. I know you've been around people that have that, right? That have that affliction, if you will. Ain't it awful? With that attitude, with that frame of mind, with that thinking, it begins to affect all areas of our life. From the way that we interact with others, to the way we perceive events in our lives. And in turn, it begins to determine our actions and our reactions in our day-to-day experience. It affects all of it. At the same time, when we believe the world is a beautiful place, a loving place, full of wonder, full of opportunity, full of adventure, then guess what? Our life is geared toward finding proof for that belief. And we begin to see beauty all around us. We begin to experience that love, be it of another individual or group of people or community or whatever. And we start seeking out those new opportunities. Actually, it feels as if those new opportunities are seeking us because they're so abundant and so in front of us. What I find fascinating, what I find interesting about that is both of those stories have the absolute same potential to manifest in our lives. We get to choose which reality we want. Now, how cool is that? Our minds go to really great lengths to hold on to old beliefs about certain things that might be very limited. It's just in there. Those neural pathways have been dug really deep. And that's our go-to. And we often make decisions about someone or something based on what we see. The trouble is with that is we rarely see the entire whole picture. We make judgments about things, about people we see or experiences we have, and we don't see that whole picture. We're not coming from that place of authenticity, right? From our God selves, from our higher selves. It becomes a problem because our mind begins to pick and choose what it sees in order to maintain an old belief system. That's why we want to question what it is we do know and what it is we don't know. If we've already determined, for instance, that a certain group of people or a particular person or an idea is bad, then our mind will maintain that belief. We're going to find reasons for that to be true. And the opposite is true too. If we know that this person is joy, is love. We will find experiences in their life to know that that part is true
When
as
we
well. Make judgments based on what we don't know. It's a lot like trying to gauge the size of an iceberg from sea level up, right? From the water up, not even paying attention to what's underneath, to what is unseen. We, a lot of times, will miss the important part of a picture. Our mind is capable of great feats of illusion. It's a pretty smart little character. It tends to discard information that contradicts what we already believe. Now, if we see ourselves as perfect, then everything in our life that happens needs to fit into that category of perfect. We ignore the fact that we make mistakes, or that a relationship is shaky, or that bills are late, money's due. We tend to ignore all of that. However, what I know is that's not a widespread problem, is it? How many of us in this room think we are perfect and have no flaws? Right? Unfortunately. Because so many people have that idea of a low self-esteem. And what I want you to know is this: our mind works just as hard to make those beliefs true as it does the positive ones. Our mind works very hard to maintain that illusion that we are broken, that we are lacking, that something's wrong. I don't know about you, but I know that one issue I have is a lot of times my mind will ignore successes that I've had and really focus on the mistakes. It throws out what's wrong. My mind tends to throw out what's wrong about me instead of what's right. It keeps what's wrong and throws out what's right. It only sees the flaws. And then when we focus on something, what happens? It grows. Reality is simply all about the way you choose to perceive it. And what I know is this: there's always more than one way to look at any given situation. Problem with us is we get so darn locked into that idea that we heard or saw or understood first that we don't even bother looking further than that. We just think, like with Sue's reading, we just think, oh, I've already heard that. Oh, I've already done that. And we just kind of let that go. And what does that do? That limits our possibilities to enjoying and expanding our life, to seeing it from a different perspective, from a bigger view. Many people go through life very content with seeing things only one single way, because they're so secure in knowing that their way is right and that their way is the only way. Think for a moment with that kind of thinking what you might miss out on. All the beautiful moments that you could miss out on by remaining so limited. When we can shed our preconceived ideas, we are so much freer. We're free to understand and learn about ourselves at such a different level. We are free to understand and know about others at a really deep level. We begin to see things that we've never expected to see. We begin to embrace things, situations, people that we never anticipated doing before. It opens up a whole new world for us. The illusions that our mind creates often were put in place to protect us, and that's a good thing. However, if they become habitual, then they begin to limit us, keeping us in that small box. Our mind creates what it is we see in the world, and you have the ability to decide what that looks like. That is who you are. That is how empowered you are. When you are in that awake mode, you absolutely become the master of your own reality. And isn't that what we're all looking for? I'm going to close this morning with a short excerpt from his book, Being of Power. Aligning to the divine is always available to you at any moment. Invite in those highest intentions for this day, this experience, this life. Act on those intentions. Transform them into reality. From this space, where you are, right here, right now, ask of the highest good, because it's yours to request. You, the authentic, real you, are of a divine power. Wow. Thank you so much for being here this morning while I shared the truth as I understand it.